Just for Girls podcast. And today we're going to talk about cardboard and how to make stuff with it. The first thing that got me really interested in engineering was actually building with cardboard. And I think that a lot of engineers do, and that I've done in my high school engineering classes, has been prototyping out of cardboard and making models out of cardboard so that I know how it's going to look when it's finished. I made an arcade machine my sophomore year, and I prototyped that out of cardboard first so that we could actually figure out how exactly we wanted all of the mechanisms to work. So this is very near and dear to my heart, and I really enjoy working with cardboard. So I have made a lot of things with cardboard over time. They've gotten more and more practical over time. So this is my little thing that I put on the edge of my sofa that's in my room. And so it has a bunch of little spots and places for things. This is my little trash can. This is a little compartment for whatever I need it. I have a little compartment for my chopsticks because I keep chopsticks in my bedroom. My little remote. This is a cup holder, and then on the other side we have another compartment for miscellaneous items. And so this goes on the edge of my sofa, and it holds things, and this is a flat surface that I can set stuff on. So this is another thing that I made recently. It's my little sandpaper holder. So it has my sandpaper stuff for polishing. This is actually from when I need to clean off my lights in my car, and holds all my little sandpaper packages, which is very nice and very practical and nice and organized. So those are some of the things that I have made using cardboard in the past month or so. So both of these things I've used different types of cardboard. Most of them are a fairly far apart, fairly normal corrugation, but there are different types of corrugations. So if you look at cardboard, there are these little waves that are going through it, and that is a corrugation. So it's typically 2 layers and then a corrugation. And so depending on how thin or thick that corrugation is and how small those corrugations are, will have differences between the cardboard and how strong it is, how thick it is, how useful it is in a lot of senses. So one of those corrugations is stuff that you get with Lego boxes. Super duper fine corrugation. If you look here, you can see those itty bitty tiny holes in the corrugation. And so that's this one. Another one is something like this. This actually has double corrugation. So there's a thick layer and then a thin layer right above it. So it's double layered. And that makes it very stiff and firm. Which can make it difficult to use, but can also make it very useful. For instance, for my little thing that I put on my sofa, that top layer that I set things on, that is a double corrugated piece of cardboard because it is stiffer than the other cardboard that I used for it. The most common and my personal favorite type of cardboard is something along the lines of this. It's, I would say, a fairly medium corrugation. It's not super big, it's not super fine. It's about 1/8 of an inch thick, I would say. It has bigger holes, so it has a wider corrugation, so they're more spread apart and they're taller. But it's super useful, it's super common, and I love this the best. It's amazing. Perfect cardboard. But there are some other types of cardboard that you can get as well. For instance, this one has a very similar corrugation to our last one, but it has this little plastic coating for one of its layers. It's paper but with a plastic coating on top of it. But I also want to talk about how to cut cardboard. My favorite thing to use is a sharp knife without any serrations, because it makes sure that you don't get little itty bitty pieces everywhere. You can also use a saw-esque knife, but again, you get these little tiny bits of cardboard dust everywhere. The next thing you could use is a pair of scissors, which work, but I noticed that it bends the cardboard, and when you're working with a fairly weak cardboard, it's not the nicest to use. So I use sharp knives. You can use pretty much any cutting tool you have.
That your parents approve of.
That your parents approve of. Make sure your parents approve of this. My mom approves of me using this. Right, Mom? Yeah. Cool. So the first technique I want to show you is actually ripping off half of the cardboard. So you have your 2 layers and then your corrugation in the middle, and basically what you're going to do is you're going to rip off that top layer of corrugation. Sometimes it's easier than others, but you're basically trying to get your nails underneath there to try to pop it back, just like that, and then you're just going to pull. And slow and steady wins the race. So after each pull, there's typically some bits still left, so I run my finger across that to get rid of those. Anything like this can help you out. So you're holding one side and the other side, and you're pulling them both away from each other. There you go. Now you have this piece off, and this is now just the corrugation and one piece. So the great thing about this is like you can curve it, and it's super easy, and you can do really funky curves with it. I make circles out of this a lot of the time. But when you attach it just like this, with this corrugation still there, you get this kind of bump, like if you're doing a Swiss roll. And I don't like it. I don't think it looks that good. And so the thing that I do with my cardboard is that I cut off part of this corrugation. So instead of having the corrugation and the one layer, it's just the one layer. So I typically cut along the side of or on top of one of these upper corrugations. And this is harder to do when you don't have a knife, but you can literally just rip this with your fingernails. And then you peel this off. Okay, and so then after that, you can roll them on top of each other, have this single layer on top, and then you can tape it down, and so you have a lot less of that Swiss roll shape when you tape it down to each other. You can also, with this particular technique, you can glue these 2 sides of cardboard together, and so you don't even have to use glue. I mean, you don't even have to use tape, you can just use glue. So now you have one way to make a circle with cardboard, which is kind of cool, because you wouldn't think that something that is flat like this could turn into something like this. Another technique that I wanted to show you involves kind of something that we did with the last technique. So let me cut off another piece of cardboard here. All right, so the next thing is, what if you wanted to make this piece longer? Well, you can do that. So if I made this piece half as wide, because I only need something that's half this width, but I need it almost twice as long, you can do that. Again, you can just cut through the top 2 layers, fold it, and then I find that easier to make it through the last layer. So now you have these 2 pieces. So what you're gonna do is, I typically like going to the side of the cardboard if it's something like this, where you can see, where it's brown and you can see the corrugations. You are going to cut on the inside of one corrugation, so they look like waves. So you want the one that looks like a dip, you're gonna cut through that dip. You can see that that's a little divot. You can cut directly through it. And then you're gonna peel it. This one you can be a lot more messy with because you're basically just trying to get the corrugation and the top layer off, so you're just left with the bottom layer. And you're gonna wanna do the same on the other piece. So now you have these two pieces. So you're gonna have them going basically opposite directions of each other, attach them both together, lay those two on top of each other, and then you can glue it or tape it down. And so now you have twice as long of a piece, and it is fairly sturdy together. So then you have your grain here, which is what I call the corrugation, sort of. And so you can also score against the grain. So you go against the corrugations, and you don't cut all the way through, but just most of the way through. And then you can bend it, and that can give you clean cuts, but if you bend it towards itself, you can get some nice angles. Or you can even bend it away from itself and also get some nice angles without having to cut entirely through your cardboard. And you get to save a lot of tape if you do it this way. Trust me, I have burnt through so much duct tape and packing tape. My mom's.
And every tape.
Every tape that we have ever owned in this house, I have used at least a roll of it. So another technique that you can use to attach, for instance, a toilet paper tube to this piece of cardboard is by using little flaps. So you're gonna cut in to the toilet paper tube about half an inch, depends on how stiff you want it. I'm doing this backwards, so let's hope we get it pretty good. You want them to be fairly even cuts all the way around, so you can, measure that or eyeball it. It's cardboard. It's fairly forgiving. Then you're gonna fold all these flaps upwards or out. And so now you have all these little flaps here. Now you can put those flaps onto a flat piece of cardboard and tape them down and glue them down. I would suggest tape for this particular thing. So then you have your little whatever for your little cardboard creation. So this is a lot of fun. I built a lot of cool creations. I've built doll houses. I used to build, when I was small enough, I used to take refrigerator-sized boxes and I would make actual houses out of them. I made an awesome castle with a couple of my friends when I was younger. I've made a lot of different things out of cardboard that are useful and a lot of things that are just fun and playful. And you can figure out what you want to build and how you want to build it using these techniques. There are no rules, there are no instructions, just do what you want and build. I think that will be it for this video. Make sure to talk to your parents about what tools you can use. I used a knife throughout most of this video, but again, you can use your hands and your fingernails and a pair of safety scissors. That's what I started out with. I built that castle and that dollhouse with a pair of scissors and some packing tape. Alright, have fun, talk to your parents about this, and build.
So I hope you enjoyed watching the video where Leo taught you how to build things out of cardboard. We would love to see what kind of cardboard creations you can make at home using the things in your recycling bin and the boxes that come with your deliveries while you're stuck at home. So be sure and post videos and pictures of them using the hashtag NJFG projects on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Can't wait to see them.